What is going on, Jerk Faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We are back again at it with another pre-tape because another scheduling conflict. But don't say that we're not consistent. We're all whether live or pre-tape, we're always up on at 8 p.m. ish.
The pre-tapes are always up at 8.
Yeah, the pre-tape. Oh, yeah, there you go. If nothing, the pre-tapes at least keep us to our word of 8 p.m. So, we're doing this pre-tape because scheduling complex. And with that being said, let's get this conversation started. And with me, as always, as ever, co-piloting this show with me is the homeboy Rob.
Yo, what's going on, guys?
Yes, indeed. What is going on, indeed? A lot. A lot has been going on. Not everything. Not all pleasant, but but we'll get into that. So let's get this conversation started. So.
Yeah, I'm somewhat infirmed. I've had a huge headache all day, but we'll power through.
Yes, we'll do our best as we always do. Let's start off with Rob. What did you do over the weekend?
Actually, it was quite an eventful weekend. Actually, I did was it Saturday after work? I went go-karting with my dad, and that was we hadn't done that together in a while, so it was kind of we didn't get to do it on Father's Day like we had intended, so that was what we did this weekend. And then Sunday I had a bowling tournament with church, which I did awful in because I was ridiculously sore from work and everything. So like my back was killing me, and I bowled like crap. And then to start off the weekend though, on Friday I ended up watching the new Incredibles movie, which we'll be getting into a little bit later.
Right. Okay. Oh, so wait, no, you had today off, right? Your injury. Yeah. Wasn't you're not at home because of your injury? You're at home.
No. My back's fine now.
Okay. Oh, so it's like a minor thing.
It was just like I had one of the muscles in my back is just kind of strained. I've been doing too much.
I see.
How was your weekend there, Andy? Anything special?
Not really. Friday I went out and to a bar in and around K-Town.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. Actually, we went to one of those, what was it? One of those Korean, like, hostess kind of bars.
I see.
Yeah, it was a good time. What was it? James had gone, like a few days or a week, I forget which, before, and he had actually had a bottle saved there. Because I guess, he wasn't able to, finish the bottle himself, even with the hostess's help. But, so we went, and it was cool, I think me and one of the hostesses, we got along pretty well, and I must have really had a lot to drink because I began singing at the bar. And so
nice.
And she seemed to really enjoy it, and like she was even making requests of me to sing certain songs, and so we exchanged information, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Cool. Sounds fun.
Yes. So that was I didn't do anything. I didn't really do anything Saturday or Sunday. So yeah, so that was my weekend.
Very cool. Very cool.
Indeed. All right. So, do you want to start with Incredibles?
Yeah, might as well.
All right. Yes, it's quite fortunate because me and Robert both independently went and saw Incredibles 2. If for those of you who were who watched last week, we said that we were going to watch another film. Did we announce it or no?
I don't think we announced it.
Oh,
No.
no, announce it. Oh well, after the show, we decided to watch Roaring Twenties, which I have to say I did enjoy. But we'll have to save that review for another week. Uh, but I will say that I did enjoy it.
Yeah, but I'll let you go first on your thoughts on Incredibles 2, Andy.
I thought it was a really fun movie. I thought it was really cool of them to begin the movie moments after the ending of the first one. So basically, the part two begins where the first one leaves off.
Yeah, that was pretty. I like that too.
Yeah, I like that too. I thought I thought it was an interesting story. Talking about it was really a story about media and and how we become consumed by it, or how we sometimes just allow it to kind of tell us a story that it wants it to tell. Like I think that executive, I forget who was like in the movie, like he was talking about how he was showing a clip of the footage of the Incredibles battle, and he's pointing out like, oh, what are you seeing, and what are you seeing in this thing? It's like you see the destruction, you see the mayhem, but you don't see that you don't see the superheroes saving lives.
Yeah,
And that's I guess that's the jumping off point for the main story, where this telecommunications executive is trying to bring back superheroes, and he's offering his services to like rebrand and get change the opinions on superheroes.
yeah. I thought that was kind of because I'm mixed on how I felt about the movie, because there was a lot that I liked about it, and then there was a few things that kind of bugged me about it as well. Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool that it hits like right off after like where the first one left off some 14 years ago.
Right.
and I liked kind of that theme of it's all like how crazy like media perception can be, and how people aren't seeing the full narrative. They're only seeing what they want to see, and instead of seeing like what these supers are actually trying to do and saving lives and whatnot. The thing that I didn't like about it was it kind of felt like kind of the same narrative that we see a lot in like sitcoms or in other movies, where it's like we gotta just let the women take care of it. They're the ones that are really gonna the men are too stupid, or too what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like bumbling, and kind of this. In the case of like Mr. Incredible, it's like, oh yeah, he just smashes stuff. He doesn't think, and so we need someone that is more, has more finesse. And so they use like Elastigirl, and it's more of this. It kind of felt like it had a little bit of that, like slid that narrative in there as well, or that theme.
Actually, I did. I mean, as much as as much as I am, anti-feminist. Like I thought that the handling of that was, pretty nuanced.
I get, and like I said, I might be in the minority of someone who saw that, but it was just like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, I mean, I understand you because I saw the same movie that you did, and even though you and me have like pretty similar points of view on certain topics, I understand. I totally understand what you mean. I totally understand. This kind of like push women to the forefront or whatever. But I thought that this was handled a lot better than most other movies.
Like I said, it wasn't to the point where like I'm like rolling my eyes, or you could like hear my just like groan or sigh.
Yeah, your exasperated sigh.
Yeah. Like I said, it didn't make the movie like a bad movie per se. Like it was still I thought it was still a really well done like film, and it was still fun. But it just like at the same time, it's like, oh, here we go with this narrative again. Not that like not that Elastigirl's a bad character. I like Elastigirl. I like the I like the entire Incredibles family and all the characters and stuff. It wasn't just some random character that was just thrown in there, but it kind of felt like that was kind of a little bit of the narrative. And then you see like Bob at home, like he's just kind of having a hard time taking care of the kids, and it's he's just having like this kind of like a bumbling time of it.
I mean, but again, I think that was handled very, again, with like some subtlety because, like the whole scene with like the math, because I guess they're like teaching the kids how to like this new way of doing math or whatever. And like he has like this initial like frustration with it, but then he takes time to go over the textbook himself, and then he does and then he goes back to his son and say, oh, I think I figured it out, and actually goes through the math homework with the son. So I mean, I think again I think another like really well done, like well executed, like subtlety.
Yeah, but it wasn't usually like in those type of films, so like where it's lauding like, oh, we have to have this like female empowerment kind of thing. I felt it was kind of in a way very like pro family a lot, where everyone kind of like the entire family like came together to support one another, and like when the parents were in trouble, it's like the kids did like, oh, hey, we had to go do something, and everyone, like I said, everyone like came together and supported one another, and it so it wasn't like this like super feminist, anti-family, whatever like type of movie, but it just, like I said, it had that little twinge in there that I felt was a little bit like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, I think I give it a little bit more credit because of how nuanced the characters were. 'Cause even the mom, Elastigirl, she was having misgivings because that she was saying like, oh, to help my family, I have to leave it to fix the law. I have to break it. So like she understood like uh, the kind of paradox that she was in. Because I think she would have. I think she. It's not as though she didn't want to be with her family or whatever, and uh, it wasn't that she didn't want to be with her family, but she thought, I guess she thought that again she had, she was, had that struggle where she wanted, uh, she saw that she was doing her part to help her husband get back out there, and
Yeah.
him be the one to lead. So again, I think like there again like another little subtlety to it. But I want to point something out. But should we go into like spoilers now?
Yeah, we can. So yeah, just
Yeah. So if
spoilers
you don't
ahead.
want to know anything other, or if you don't want any spoilers, just kind of like I don't know. I'll put in what is it? One of those time markers to jump to, so you don't like hear any of the spoilers. But I think it's funny because the true villain of the film turned out the real big bad turned out to be like the short haired like feminist,
Yeah, that's true.
right? And it's kind of funny or telling because even though she was this like capable intelligent woman, she still like had to do everything you know uh, in shadows and like use her brother as like a shield in a way.
Right.
And like she didn't have any powers, and so she had to you know she had to kind of she invented these goggles that and allowed her to mind control the superheroes. And it was just, it's kind of like the feminist thing where they have to control people with power, with you know, with influence. And so I saw that connection.
That's very true too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I thought the movie was great. I still really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's I like all the characters. I liked kind of the idea of the story where to be honest, I thought um, I always forget the brother's character name, but the guy voiced by Bob Odenkirk.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I kind of assumed that he was going to be kind of the villain.
Right.
But he, because usually like when someone has, they're trying to make a difference, and they're kind of the good guy. It seems like too good to be true, but he was kind of
Mm-hmm.
he really
Yeah,
did.
he was the optimist. He was the idealist.
Yeah, which is it was kind of unusual that like they kept him as that type of character,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they made his crazy sister kind of be the one that's
Yeah, the real the
and
real big
well,
bad.
yeah.
But I mean, it kind of hinted at it. I think when in that really quick conversation that they're that back and forth that Elastigirl and that character were having.
That was like their first encounter together.
No. It was like kind of like in the middle. It was like
Oh
after
well,
the
yeah.
yeah. It was like a quick. They were having like this quick back and forth, and then like the sister was dropping all the like this kind of like almost feminist doctrine.
True. Yeah.
And yeah, but I like and but then I think Elastigirl, she was having a little like she was coming at it like a little bit more nuanced.
True. True.
So
But yeah, no, it's I highly recommend it. I think it's something that like it's not only is it good for the kids, but it's not just for them. Like it's a movie kind of for everyone.
yeah, it's a fun summer film that you can take your kids to, and to get out of the heat, go into nice cool air conditioned theater.
Yeah,
Good times.
that always helps.
Yes.
All right, so
Yes. Well, speaking of feminazis,
yeah.
yes, Robert wanted to talk about this documentary that is that he's seen. So why don't you take it away?
So I was watching the watching or listening kind of well. I initially I was listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, and he had a guy on by the name of Tim Kennedy. And he's Tim Kennedy's seems like Captain America. I mean, like he's in the special forces. He's fought in the fought in the UFC. He's and he's also a part of this documentary series. He was one of the guys investigating what happened to Adolf Hitler, and kind of investigating, the claims that after that he had potentially fled to South America
Right.
and
Yeah,
didn't actually die.
for those of you not aware, there is a theory out there that that Hitler didn't really commit suicide and that he escaped on a U-boat to what is it? Was it Venezuela?
It was Argentina initially.
Argentina. That's right.
So I was like, well, that sounds interesting, and he's kind of talking about some of the the crazier things that they found on this investigation. And it's kind of funny because you hear those things and it seems kind of conspiratorial, and it's true that some of the higher level guys did kind of escape to Argentina, but it's like, oh, it's like, yeah, like one or two are bound to have gotten out somehow. So that makes like potential sense. But as and this documentary series was over the course of 3 seasons of it, and I guess
It was a
there was
TV
all
show,
these,
right?
yeah, it was on the History Channel.
Mm-hmm.
And there was they were searching through all these declassified documents of after the war, and just trying to investigate it and see if well, okay, let's dig into it, let's see what's happening. And my God, I am convinced that based off of all the findings that they had, I mean, it wasn't this to me wasn't like some bullshit. They weren't just kind of making things up. Like they went to these places and investigated, and I'm pretty convinced that not only did like a lot of those like the high ranking guys get out of there and start up pretty much start the Fourth Reich over in South America, but it seems plausible that Hitler probably didn't die in that bunker. In fact, he may not have even been in the bunker when the Soviets closed in. I've never seen so many it's like one of these crazy spy films where there's so many different redundancies and escape routes and plan B's and C's that these people had. to like escape, and all those escape networks work, like, and how they can get out, because people
Yeah, and
were
Hitler was really paranoid. And
the
so,
crazy, the other really crazy thing is how many networks of all these underground tunnels and caves that they built, and my God, and just stuff that like you would not expect to see at all. That how much money and infrastructure that they built to not to escape. Like I said, they had all these contingency plans. I was looking at all this and I was completely blown away. And I feel like this is kind of the side of the war that we don't really hear about. And
yeah, because
I think in a lot of ways it's where as the war is ending, I think the government wanted us to think that like we finished this. Hitler's gone, the Nazis are gone, and we have to like we can move on as a country. We worked hard. We fought for liberty and freedom for not only the United States but for all of like Europe and
for the
everyone
world,
involved.
basically, for the world.
Yeah, and plus the it's like there's a new. We had to face a new threat in communism, and so it's kind of like if we're still like looking behind us in the rearview mirror and thinking about Adolf Hitler, then we're not gonna be able to be as focused as a nation.
True.
But I feel like I kind of feel in a lot of ways maybe either I don't know if it was the the government that like it was like, oh well, we'll just close the book and forget about it, but clearly not, because they were still investigating like many years later. But yeah, I kind of feel like a little bit like we're lied to about it, which is kind of a shame.
I mean, I wouldn't be so surprised because something that monumental, like finally getting Hitler. You would think that there'd be photos, like I mean, what was it? The Soviets that ultimately took Berlin, right?
Yeah, it was. They were the ones that like got into the bunker, and they. But the thing is, like the Soviets claimed that they had his body, but like no one saw this. And
right, yeah, there were no pictures. Like, and like this was like such a big thing. You'd think that there'd be some pictures.
And the skull that they had for all those years, it was a woman's skull. It wasn't a man's skull. And okay, maybe it was Eva Braun's, and they got it mixed up. That's a possibility. But unfortunately, they couldn't really test that, because they did track down like one of the last surviving family members of Eva Braun.
Yeah, and they wouldn't submit to the DNA test.
Yeah, they weren't happy that they got found out, because they had changed their names and all this stuff, and they didn't want any part of it anymore, which understandable.
Right, yeah.
I think that's.
I mean, it's much the same as Hitler's family. Like his aunt and like cousin or whatever. Like they're they fled the country, and like they got to like as deep far in America as Chicago. And they changed their names because they didn't want that attention. They didn't want the stain of of the name Hitler to be on them forever.
Yeah. And so it's just really wild how how it all here's the other crazy thing too is like the two things that I thought were really fascinating were, one, they were very, very close to developing nuclear weapons before the United States did. They were producing heavy water in Norway, and had pretty much were on the verge of getting nuclear weapons before the end of the war. And they were still, after a lot of these guys fled over to South America, they were rebuilding. They'd been transporting heavy water from that nuclear base in Norway through U-boats to South America, and had kind of rebuilt their nuclear plant in I think it was Argentina that they were working on it. So there was that. That's a scary thought. And they were, that was kind of going to be their, their way to kind of attack the United States. So there was that. I think that was pretty intense. The other thing that was, there was another escape route that these guys had that fled towards south, towards Austria, and there's this kind of tri-region area of Austria, Italy, and Germany that these guys had fled to. And what was really scary is that the Catholic Church was complicit in helping these guys escape. They would rebaptize Nazis that were fleeing to them, to change their names, which would allow them to, and this was happening at the time where, with their names changed and their identities changed, they went to the Red Cross and got these temporary passports so that they could escape to wherever they wanted. And so they just became regular refugees fleeing Europe after the war. And that's one of the ways that they escaped. I mean, and same thing in Spain. They had there was the Catholic Church in Spain was helping these guys too, and that's kind of wow. I couldn't believe that. That's pretty crazy.
That is pretty messed up.
And in some ways, it makes a little bit of sense in that. Because in Europe, it was, it was the Nazis and their fascism or communism. And unlike communists who would just outright destroy the Catholic Church and, send those guys off to, gulags and whatnot, at least the Nazis didn't just outright destroy churches as long as they were willing to support the state in a lot of ways. So a lot of them backed the Nazis, and that's why they were allowed to stand. And it was just so they ended up helping a lot of these guys get out of Germany and where fleeing Europe.
Right. Crazy. But it makes you wonder though. How much of that was, the church backing Nazis? How much was that more survival tactic as opposed to killing the Jews? That sounds like a good idea. More like not an endorsement of Nazi ideology, but more of a survival tactic.
But the thing is, the point that they were helping them at, the war is over.
This is the point where the war is over. Okay.
Yeah, the Germans are on the run. I understand why doing it at the height of their power. That makes sense in some ways. Mm-hmm. But this is after the war, so that's why I'm saying that's the crazy part about it is they don't really have the power anymore. They're on the run, and yet they're helping them. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just to what is it? Touching back on that Joe Rogan interview, they looked up that colony.
Colonia Dignidad.
Yeah, Colonia Dignidad, and at first I thought it was just gonna be some small buildings in the jungle or whatever, but when they showed it, I was amazed because it literally looked like it was one of those Bavarian
it looked like something out of The Sound of Music.
Yes, exactly. It was like you couldn't tell the difference. Like if you said that was in South America, I wouldn't have believed you. It looked straight up like it was in like Germany or like the Bavarian countryside. Like with like the architecture down to like the T and like the cobblestone streets and they literally transplanted an entire Bavarian village into South America.
Yeah, and that's, oh my gosh, it was. I was thinking that too. It's like, oh yeah, I thought it was just gonna be, oh, maybe it's just some German refugees who kind of sort of made it there, and they had like a couple, yeah, like I said, a couple
Yeah, they took
buildings.
over like some old like Spanish style like missions or something. But no, this is like straight up. They like lifted a portion of like Germany of Bavaria and transplanted it
and
into South America.
and the crazy thing is, all the stuff that they built there, for themselves was very German.
Yeah, German
Everything
centric.
was very German.
Yeah, German
It's
centric.
Yeah, and I was blown away that
Yeah,
there's
and
all
like
this stuff there.
and the
And
most
to this day, everyone is very tight-lipped about it.
right, and if you see the photos, like the brochure, uh, everyone is still like as white as paper.
Yeah, it's like they're still German.
Yeah, they're very much like still like all the Germanic like facial features and some with like blonde hair, some with brown hair, uh, but very European looking. Like there's no hint of cross pollination, as it were. Like no hint of like native Argentinian in the in the bunch of them.
Yeah, it was. I was just. I couldn't believe it, and that's why I was like, man, this is. Even like the guys that were they're kind of behind this investigation. It's like, this is what should have been done. This is the investigation that should have happened 70 years ago, and it's they're finding stuff, and there's all this secrecy and whatnot, and yeah, I'm just I can't say it enough. I'm blown away that it was happening like kind of underneath our noses,
Mm-hmm.
and that to this day it affects people still today. Um, Yeah, I mean, you see the fear in people's eyes that were still alive, that were surviving from that time period, that were affected by this, and um, like they're like, no, I don't want to. Like there was one guy that they talked to, and there was, I guess, a seaplane that the Nazis had that were transporting people, that one of them had crashed, and like we're it was supposed to have not only held personnel, but potentially like gold and like other treasures that they were bringing over, and they were when they asked this guy, he's like, I don't want to talk about that. Like, so there was something there that like, and he's to this day, there's no Nazis for that we know of anymore, but like he didn't want to talk about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how scared he was.
Right. Yeah.
Like even it's like, I mean, he even to like give the information that he was like he's like like you could still see that he was like really scared about it, but like he reluctantly like gave the information over.
Yeah, it's like one of those like one of those spy movies where the informant's like he says like three sentences and he's like, oh, I've already said too much.
Like, and then there was another like scientist or like from like that area too, that had a bunch of information, and but he wouldn't meet with them in like the city. He's like, no, we had to meet in like this part of like the jungle, and we had to do it at night because he didn't want to have people like he didn't want people's eyes on him.
Right.
That's
He didn't
like,
want to be
so
seen talking to the the outsiders.
yeah, exactly. It's like, man, crazy stuff. And
Word.
I if you like learning about World War II, and this is I would suggest go watch this, because this is kind of an untold story of what happened like just after the war. It's like there's nothing definitive per se, like other than a few cases where we know certain people made it over there.
Right.
But the evidence, so you have to just kind of look at the evidence that's there, and there's enough evidence from that I think that everything of all these guys escaping over there, even potentially Hitler, I think it's all very, very plausible. If not, I mean, to be honest,
if not Hitler, then for sure some Nazis did make it out.
I'm pretty convinced, though, that they did. Even I don't think Hitler died in that bunker. I'm going on a limb and saying I think that's very true. Just because he had so many of these other plans in place, so it doesn't make sense that he would commit suicide in that bunker.
Right, like that was because I mean, again, like they were like the Germans, they were so meticulous that they had plan, they had contingencies for contingencies. So
yeah, and so I'm pretty convinced that what we think of from history wasn't actually true. So yeah, but I encourage everyone, go ahead and watch it. I think it's very for those history buffs out there that you like investigating stuff. This is a documentary for you.
Yeah, I always found it interesting, like those alternative history things. I mean, to relate it, in the first Hellboy movie, when the new agent is being introduced to the bureau for what was it, paranormal research and defense, and he was basically the Professor Broom, that's what it was like. Professor Broom like walks him through the vault of like all the little trinkets and things like that, and he points to the spear of Longinus, the supposed spear that pierced Christ, and he said like, oh, we found it in a bunker, in Germany, and then we basically fought Hitler for another like 5 years, and then he finally died in 1955, and then like the new agent was like, oh, 1940, like 1945, right? Hitler died in 45, and then like the professor kind of slyly is like, oh, did he?
Yeah, it's yeah. Well, what was it? His second in command, Martin Bormann. The narrative is that he died in the Battle of Berlin as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what's a little bit why I think I don't think that's true either, because there's a lot of evidence that I don't remember if he was in I don't remember if he was in Chile or if it was. I think he was in. He had gotten over to Chile somehow, and he had, obviously, I forget what his alias that he was going on at. It was like Juan. It was like Juan Kemper, like was his like alias that he had took on, and he had what he had done is he had stolen the identity of a guy. He killed someone. Took their identity, had adopted a Chilean girl, and he ended up, what they're thinking is that he had ended up dying. They found his like kind of unmarked grave, essentially, and they found, I guess he died of some sort of cancer, and they buried him there. Yeah, but over in Germany, they had been trying to search for his bones, and for a long time they couldn't find him. There was like no body, no nothing where he was supposed to have been at.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden they redid they redid some. I think they redid another dig in like the 70s, and then all of a sudden they found his bones. But the crazy thing is that the bones were covered in this iron-rich red clay dirt that is not native to Germany. So what's thought of is that they took someone, I don't know if it was the government or over there or whoever took, dug up those bones and put them back in Germany and so there's just so that they could kind of close that narrative gap that Martin Bormann died in the Battle of Berlin. But there's enough evidence to think that he didn't actually that he had actually gotten over to South America as well and died over there. And man, it's just I don't know. It's not, like I said, it's nothing definitive, but man, it's super plausible.
Right. It's like there's no real way to prove it, but like all of like.
Well, like I said, it's a 70-year-old cold case, so the majority of the eyewitnesses are dead. The majority of all of the people that were part of this back then are dead.
Right. All the locations have been bulldozed and built on top of, and so a lot of the physical evidence is gone.
Yeah. The crazy thing is that a lot of the structures over in South America, while the jungle has eaten a lot of it up, a lot of the structures are still there. That's why it's and it wasn't just like one house, one little shack. That they built a whole system over there of tunnels, compounds, all sorts of stuff. And it's not just some guerrillas in the jungle building these things. This was World War II era German built stuff.
So it's good.
Yeah. And so it's man, I was just blown away. And I did not think it was going to be as extensive as it was. So yeah, go ahead. Go and it's on Hulu. The most recent, the last season 3, is it's not out on Hulu yet, but you can watch it through the historychannel.com. They have the episodes on there. So.
All right, just another thing I can watch instead of 13 Reasons Why.
We still. Oh, I will say this: because I've been wrestling with that whole issue with that show and kind of the the themes that it's discussing and whatnot. And I think we should still talk about it, but there's a lot to there's a lot to talk about, and I may have even changed my opinion on some things as well.
It's funny because I'm laughing because people don't know how that rant I went on that last time I was over at your place over it.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were filming for Up by Up Down, and while we were breaking in between some of the episodes, Andy I kind of made a quick joke at Andy, and Andy just went off on this huge like screaming rant about 13 Reasons Why. It was absolutely hilarious.
Yes.
I was on the floor. I was crying, laughing.
Just Robert. He just wants to give me aneurysms. That's what it is. He just wants to give me aneurysms.
That's how I roll.
He's just trying to kill me. Well, I think we talked that subject to the fullest.
Yeah, no, like I said, go. I just encourage everyone, especially if you're a history buff and you have a tinfoil hat, go ahead and watch Hunting Hitler. It's a great one.
All right. Well, speaking of Nazis.
Fake Nazis, right?
Yeah, well, speaking of Nazis, well, it doesn't matter because anyone on the left, automatically you just call them Nazi. Just a lot of leftist, lunacy going on lately. From news pundits calling the detention centers concentration camps.
I'll say this, that there's that cliche that history repeats itself. We're just replaying the battle in Europe during the 30s and 40s between Nazis and communists that hated each other. This is essentially like if they claim that we are Nazis, they're the communists, and
true.
This is true. Just replaying. This is just replaying that battle.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. And it's what was it? It was Mark Twain who said, "History doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes." And so, again, another mangled quote by Robert. But anyways.
Well, that's not who I was. That's not who I was quoting.
You weren't quoting Twain?
No.
Oh, okay.
But no, there is a cliche out there that history repeats.
Oh, okay, the cliche.
Yeah,
okay.
That's not.
Oh, because I thought okay. Twain. Yeah, I thought you were quoting Twain. That's my bad.
Yeah.
But yes.
Don't believe everything you see on TV. Abraham Lincoln.
Exactly. But I mean, it's kind of insane right now. You have to admit.
I'm losing my mind.
It's taking all the will that I have to just remain sane. Because they're constantly gaslighting people into thinking that, oh, look at all, isn't this horrible? They got kids in in cages. It's like, and it's like, like the initial images at first that came out, those are pictures from when Obama was president, and that was happening, and yet the media didn't say shit about that. And then
here's the crazy thing, Andy, they're like saying, oh, it's like what we did to the in the Japanese internment camps. Well, first of all, that to me is a dark stain on American history.
Agreed.
Along with slavery.
I think most decent people do agree with that.
But they were also, crazy thing, American citizens. These people are not American citizens.
That's another distinction.
That was I think even the more deplorable thing is, like, not only was it just like it wasn't even just Japanese. It was anyone that was,
it was Japanese Americans. It was Americans of Japanese descent. So it was like.
But it was more than that, because there was
people
Koreans
that
got caught up in that too.
What was that?
But like Koreans and I think some Chinese people got caught up in that too.
Right. Yeah, it's all the same to them.
Yeah, so that's pretty deplorable. For one thing, they're essentially the government people are saying like, oh, you think that the government would do something like to that? They're not going to come and take your guns and all this stuff. Yeah, they did it.
So
Like
yeah, they did it
once
already.
in
Yeah,
World history.
and like the only reason why they didn't do it to the Germans is because it was too hard to try to pick out the Germans, the German Americans. Yeah. That is.
So it's already and super lefty FDR. So I mean it's
he was like the first progressive.
Yeah, but anyways, it's not it's there's people that says, oh, first of all, those were American citizens, not illegal aliens, and then obviously, oh well, this is like the concentration camps in from the Nazis, and it's
Auschwitz no, or Dachau.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not Auschwitz, and Ben Shapiro was kind of talking about the same thing. He's like, oh my God, it is not any of these things. Read a fucking book, or you didn't say quite.
And also, it diminishes actual Holocaust survivors.
Yeah, that, and even like the people that survived, like Manzanar and all that stuff. It's who had all their rights, all their family heirlooms, everything stripped away from them, and that's
a lot of their the land and property, it was sold off, and then they weren't able to get that back.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just so it's not any of those things that's what's happening. Plus, you look, it's just this is and then they're sharing pictures of these deplorable conditions that didn't happen in 2017, 2018. That was from like 2 or 3 years ago.
The image that they show is like the kids sleeping on those foam mats and have like the Mylar blankets, so they look like little little chimichangas.
Yeah, and then you have that Time magazine article with the little girl crying and Trump kind of having this gruff look and with the caption of "Welcome to America." Well, that's not true either. Not only was the father that was saying it's like, yeah, they were never separated. Like the picture taken was kind of just the boy the child was not separated from her mother. The father said it, and hell, even like CNN was saying it's like, yeah, this is not a real story. This didn't actually happen. Even CNN was saying it's like this didn't happen in this case. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's crazy how with this whole thing where is it bad that these kids are having to be separated from their parents? Absolutely. That is kind of bad, but it is the law that's in place, and it's kind of like just like in this country. Like if I had kids and I got arrested for something, my kids aren't coming to jail with me.
Right. That little let's call it privilege. That little privilege is not extended to U.S. citizens.
Right.
So
and what they're also finding out too is that if it was true that and I'm not saying that's true in all cases because I can't say that, but what they're finding is that these a lot of these quote unquote parents and kids are not actually family members. There's a huge child trafficking ring that's going on.
Because they found there's that loophole that in the immigration law, if you are traveling with a child, then you will be expedited or whatever in the asylum route. And so that the people initially that came by themselves heard about this. When they went back, they let everyone know. It's like, hey, have a kid with you, and they'll let you in. And so it's like, oh shoot, I need a kid. So on their way, they'll just grab a kid, and they'll like coach them and say like, hey, I'm your dad, or like I'm your mom, we're a family. If the white people ask you, then you say that I'm your dad or I'm your mom and that we're a family.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that because they're actually enforcing the law,
Mm-hmm.
that they're saving a lot of these kids from getting caught in like
Right,
human trafficking.
which was the initial purpose of that law, like as an anti-trafficking measure. So like it can be figured out. So like so whoever claims like that's their kid, that's actually their kid, and not some like potential like slave labor.
Yeah, and that to me, that's really like I'm that's what I'm most encouraged by, in the sense in what's going on here. We think of it as, is it is it the nice thing to do? Maybe not, but the fact that that human trafficking is being, at least we're putting some sort of scratch in that. I think it's a really positive thing. Because yeah, it's people. That's why I see like the left just does not care about. They say that they care, but they don't care. Because if they
No, of
really
course not.
cared,
No, of course not.
it's
Because it's not. They don't give two shits about kids. Because if they cared about kids, then they wouldn't be pro-abortion. Because and it's very telling because they use language like, oh, you're ripping children away from their parents, or you're tearing children away from their mothers. And it's like, well, you're doing that on a regular basis with Planned Parenthood, so why does it matter now?
yeah,
And
well,
it's like,
no, that's the other. See, and that's it. They don't see the irony, and like, how could you separate these children from their families when and this is coming from Planned Parenthood, mind you,
oh yeah,
where it's
I remember when like the first like refugee, like the first travel ban was signed, and the president of Planned Parenthood, with zero self awareness, put out a tweet saying all like everyone has the right, uh, to live and like be free, or something like that. And this is
yeah,
from the woman who is head of the uh, biggest purveyors of abortion in human history.
yeah, it's and I'm shocked that they can't see the irony in that.
I know, yeah, they like that tweet. Like, there's no self awareness in that tweet. It's like, I'm the president of Baby Killers R Us, and I say that everyone has the right to live. It's like, except if you're in a woman's body.
It's and thinking about all the stuff that's happening today, and I've never been like this purveyor of like super conspiracy theories and like wearing a tinfoil hat, but I'm had you told me that a lot of this stuff was going to happen 10, 15 years ago, I would have thought, no, there's no way that this type of stuff would be going on. But when you start to like dig deep into what's like the all the stuff that's going on with like there's this huge human trafficking stuff that's going on. There's all this stuff, and a lot of those kids are, I don't know if it's all for like sex trafficking or anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's also part of it too. You
Right.
have that going on. You have people who are you have people that are just outright lying or supporting just really horrible people.
Yeah. I mean, case in point, Peter Fonda. He put out that
Yeah,
tweet saying that, oh, we should take Baron, like the president's son, Baron Trump, should be torn from his mother and put in a cage with pedophiles. It's like, well, what do you expect these pedophiles to do with Baron? Peter,
yeah, that's
tell me, Peter, what do you expect these pedophiles to do? give Baron a stern talking to. Hmm.
Yeah, and not only and not only was his movie not his movie like stopped. They didn't stop production on his movie or have
Or
anything
switch him
taken
out
away
for a
from
new
him. It's like,
actor.
yeah, no, they he was celebrated almost.
Yeah, I mean they're not postponing the release date. They're not going back to refilm all the scenes with like a new with a new actor. They're just just like he's like he didn't mean it.
When you look at when you look at a statement like that,
mhm.
that's so much more horrific than something like. And I'm not saying that like what she did was right either, because it was also it's a pretty deplorable statement. But like Roseanne had her show stripped from her and like everything stripped from her, and she's kind of gone into hiding almost.
Yeah.
And like I said, what she did wasn't right either. But the fact that, but what Peter Fonda is advocating for, way more horrific in all accounts.
And what is it? He also said that you should go and harass children of ICE agents as well.
Yeah, and
it's like that's fucking disgusting.
Like any conservative, like they're just like, oh yeah, if you see them in these restaurants or movies or this and that,
which then goes to crazy Maxine Waters, who is the representative of a congressional district she doesn't even live in. Let's remind people of that.
How does that work?
Yeah, how does that work? You're the representative. You're a representative of an area you don't even live in. You literally live like 30 minutes away from that district.
And by all accounts, might be the dumbest representative in the U.S. government that I've.
Yeah, over the weekend, like she, like the whole Sarah Sanders thing happened, and which we will talk about. But yeah, the Sarah Sanders thing happened, and she basically said if you see someone from the Trump administration, you go and confront them, you go and surround them, and you go and make sure that they know that they're not welcome. It's like they claim that the right or back in the during the election they were saying Trump was dog whistling because he said during he was I forget which rally it was, but he was talking about guns rights and how if Hillary became president, then she would take the guns away, and to all first Second Amendment proponents, what to do, and everyone was saying dog whistle, dog whistle, dog whistle. You're telling someone to assassinate Hillary Clinton or whatever. Which wasn't what he meant. He just meant make sure that you let them know that you were not gonna give up your guns. But and then you have Maxine Waters, who is telling people to surround and to confront and to and you're saying that that's not dog whistling. It's
that's where I think where speech like that's not what the First Amendment is protecting. That's
right. That's an incitement to violence.
You're calling people to incite violence.
Exactly, it's an incitement to violence.
That's not. That's the type of speech that should be censored and gotten rid of, because that's. And what's crazy is you have people in official high level government positions that are inciting this.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like I said, had I heard that this was going to happen 15 years ago, I would have told you you're crazy. That's never going to happen. But we're living it, and for I don't know if you've been on James Woods, seen his Twitter feed, which is absolutely hilarious.
He is hilarious. He freaking trolls people hard.
But he made a really strong point that I honestly think that he's very right is, what we're seeing today. This should show, all conservatives that buy a gun, and I plan on doing that very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to vote, because we have to use our vote to confront these crazy people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, other than actually having a piece on you, um, like the vote is the most powerful weapon that conservatives, libertarians, basically non-leftists have, against
Yeah.
this insanity. It's the only real powerful weapon or effective weapon that we have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even was it the other day too that I had a conversation with someone who, who I really like the person, and in some weird ways, they see how awful Hillary was, pretty much she hated the Clintons, which makes sense, because I mean what. She's like, yeah, they were killing people, and the whole thing with Bill, pretty much forcing himself on women, and it got swept under the rug, all that stuff, all the stuff that we hear about the Clintons. She sees all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but she's very anti Donald Trump, which is fine. You don't have to like him, but fact that it's more or less the same kind of thing where she has the same kind of left narrative of, oh, we have to incite all this stuff against Trump and people who support him and stuff like that. It's that, I think that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, because I mean,
So,
again, because what is it? It kind of goes back to what is it? Well, not the Sarah Sanders thing. When she got, she was asked to leave that restaurant, because she was the press secretary, and here's you know I'm kind of glad this happened because it showed how reasonable people on the right or conservatives or libertarians are, because instead of causing a big stink at the restaurant, she just said, "It's I understand, okay," and then she got up and left without incident, and she even offered to pay for the food that the restaurant had already started to cook, because they were having this kind of what is it, conflict in their minds, oh, should I ask them to leave or whatever, and then the owner said oh, I had to, I took, I asked the staff to vote and they voted. It's okay, so then you're a coward because you're the boss. Then you can make, and it's your restaurant, so you could, you make the rules, but then you placate to the mob, your staff.
yeah, that's
and it was it's funny because
no
she
yeah,
and it was funny because she had mentioned how how some of her staff were gay, right? And then say, yeah, but I couldn't and I can't, and I was appalled by Trump's transgender soldier thing. And I was just wait a minute, what does gay have to do with transgender? Firstly,
it
yeah,
doesn't.
what does homosexuality have to do with transgenderism? What is the link? I mean, I generally consider myself an intelligent person, but I don't understand. I don't know what the link is between homosexuality and transgenderism.
I'm stumped too.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. But again, look at the response. It was and comparing it to the gay wedding cake thing. Those faggots made it a federal case.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly were. That to me is where it's you're not just a normal person is like, oh, okay, it's fine. We'll just go to another place.
Yeah.
And
it recently came out that they live.
They targeted that place.
Yeah, and it came out that they live like 120 miles away from the baker.
Yeah, it's.
And so it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man, I don't know what to do anymore, man. Like, cause I'm one of those people that I want to, my Christian beliefs are, I want to be able to show kindness and, be a representative of the gospel. And so, obviously that means a lot of being, showing love and peace towards your enemy. But there has to come to a point where you have to defend yourself at some point. And this is, we're getting to a point in time where we don't have to start fights, but we have to start fighting back, defending ourselves.
We don't have to start the fight, but we have to win the fight. That's all it is. Like, cause it's never the right side or libertarian side that starts the fight. It's always the left. But it's our responsibility to win that fight, and to let truth and let and justice prevail. Because but yeah, like it's because what the left has done is they weaponize empathy. They weaponize empathy, and it all it's come to a head, like and manifest I think perfectly in that interview with Corey Lewandowski and Trump's former campaign manager and some like Democratic strategist, where they try to call upon the most saddest example of like this, like the border thing was like it's like this. Oh, there was a child with Down syndrome, and she was being taken away from her mother, and then like Corey Lewandowski, out of like frustration and exasperation, it just lets out womp womp. And then that Democratic strategist, he went apoplectic and like, how dare you,
Yeah, they also, but see, here's the irony thing is like they want to kill Down syndrome babies too.
That's true. Yeah, because that's one of the things that they promote. It's like, oh, if your child has any kind of birth defect, it's like why go through the trouble of or why go through the trouble and extra cost of raising a child with special needs when you could just get rid of it. Try again. And that's like I think I have a lot to say about that, because what if that technology was available to my parents?
Yeah.
What if imaging, prenatal imaging technology was at today's level? Back when I was floating in the womb, and my parents saw that I had a defect, and and it was proposed to them. It's like, oh, maybe you should abort this one and try again.
Yeah. Really disgusting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's also it was interesting that you brought up about like compassion and things like that, because I actually watched Matt Walsh's thing today. He was talking about compassion.
I haven't seen his thing today. I haven't seen his episode today.
Oh, well, yeah. I think it was from a couple of days ago, but he was talking about how institutions can't be compassionate. Like governments can't create compassionate laws, because compassion is a personal thing. An individual can be compassionate, but you can't make a government be compassionate. You can't create a law and then have everyone feel that compassion.
True. Okay, maybe I did. I probably did see this that episode then. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, and I thought it's like, yeah, that's right, and and he broke it down like etymologically, because passion is like I think from the Greek meaning to suffer, and then
Right.
adding like the co part means like together, so suffering together, and he also made the distinction of like being moral and being compassionate. Moral is objective. It's a standard. It applies overall. Whereas compassion is subjective and subject to the individual. And so yeah, you can't make everyone feel the way you feel. Like the whole like Rachel Maddow like sobbing because of the supposed baby concentration camps or whatever. It's like I can't. It's like
They're crocodile tears. I guarantee
Yeah.
you 100% that she gives zero fucks about those people.
Of course
Because
she
if she
doesn't.
did, she'd be there like helping, giving like aid to those people.
Exactly. That again.
You know what? I'd have a hell of a lot more respect if she was down there and like kind of
yeah, if she was like giving
helping
bottles to
people.
babies or giving them baths or whatever. Yeah, I like that. I was like, all right, that's cool. You're living your convictions. But yeah, like
But
Matt.
it's easy to have those tears from her ivory tower, and say all these things when she doesn't actually give two fucks about those people.
Exactly. Yeah, and so Matt Walsh also goes into like, hey, if you feel compassion, and if you feel it strongly enough, then stop watching this video and go out there and help a homeless person. Give him what's in your wallet. Go buy him a sandwich. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen. Because again, compassion is about the individual. It's not about the group. You can't make an entire group feel something that you feel.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm at like my well, actually I went a little bit past like my time. I have a hard out today,
All right,
guys, because
right.
I have.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a good enough place to stop as any. So
This is one of those topics where there's so much to dive into and to talk about, and we could probably spend a couple hours just on what's been going on, and I've definitely been on. I've been doing a lot more reading and digging into like what's really going on, and I can't look at mainstream news anymore because it's bullshit, and we're not getting the real story so that we can form actual real opinions and have a real debate on some of these issues, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook is garbage to me. Because all my lefty friends, they're all every single day. It's just like Trump's piece of shit. Trump is Hitler. Trump is Hitler, but still give him all your guns, or and it's like, oh, I can't believe that. It's like, what about the children? Won't anyone please think of the children? It's like, and there's your Simpsons reference for this episode.
They're all a bunch of Helen Lovejoys.
Yeah, pearl clutchers. And
Right.
so I can't it's funny because now I used to be able to it wasn't that bad, but now it's like the first three things on my feed are all anti-Trump or pro-immigration, and I'm just like, I can't. So now it's just like the first thing is always something anti-Trump or pro or pro no borders or whatever, or some lefty bullshit. So it's like I can't enjoy Facebook. I'd give my left testicle for fucking cat videos and cat videos and babies playing with dogs. I'd give my left testicle for that shit again.
Why do you think I watch a ton of gaming live streams and shit? Because it's just a way to oh my god, I can get away from this for 10 seconds.
And it's all so annoying.
And it's one of those things like where I really hate that we have to talk about this stuff in a lot of ways, but I'm starting to see more and more that it's important that we do, because it's come to a point where we can't just sit aside and just like, let's do something different. And
Right? Yeah. I mean,
that's like, the content that we put out, like we want to like have more of an uplifting tone. We want to do something fun. With our interviews that we do with people, we want to share like uplifting stories, or something that's different than what's going on with politics. But man, it's like a virus. It has consumed everything that we enjoy. I mean, hell, I didn't even think that. Who knew that ESPN, a former sports network, would turn into a political arm of the left? My God. And and so unfortunately, I have to, we have to talk about this stuff from time to time, to battle through some of the insane bullshit that's happening, on a daily basis. So
I mean,
yes,
sorry, the
once idea. Again, we're another channel that talks about this stuff, because I hate that part of it, because I want us to be different and better than that. But
I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, I'll admit that I do enjoy like the discussion and like the debate, and and if anything, like the people, like my friends that that do watch this thing, maybe like it'll be more impactful for them if they hear it from me, because they know me, they know that I'm a reasonable person. I'm not like some nut, I'm not some nut job that lives in his mother's basement, that talks about the frogs being gay. That I'm me. I'm just me. They know me. They know that I'm, a reasonable, rational person. And so, like, maybe like me talking about it will get the old wheels, turning in their heads.
Yeah, I don't talk about the frogs being gay either. But the thing is, like, you look at someone like Alex Jones, and yeah, he is in a lot of ways, he's a wild, crazy man. Mm-hmm. But there's also some of that wild and craziness, he does share some like truths of what's really going on. Like he's had his arm. He's had his arm on the pedophile stuff that I forever. I was watching Owen Benjamin's live stream, and he was kind of talking about the kind of the pedophile stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
I wrote him on like the super chat. It's like, I always thought that this stuff was some sort of wild conspiracy theory, but when you actually really look at what's happening, like how deep it runs, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And and you look at all the stuff that Alex Jones has been saying over the years, and he's been right on like 99% of the pedophile stuff, even before like anyone starts talking about it. And like that whole story that he was talking about when he was on Rogan's podcast, all that stuff happened. And I remember because Daniel, one of our members of the channel, he was saying like there was a guy that worked at the camp that he helps run, and the police told him, was like, they were looking for him because he was part of that ring, and and they told him, like, the police kind of told like what was really going on, and he's like, it's like, holy shit, nobody would have thought that, and that's scary shit.
I mean, I regard Alex Jones and now a little bit of Owen Benjamin as like the John the Baptist of this time. They're the because they're both like they're both maligned from their like kind of like particular spheres. Like Alex Jones is maligned by the mainstream media, and Owen Benjamin is maligned by the Hollywood inner circle. And so like yeah, they're like these perceived crazy people, shouting in the wilderness, but they're speaking truth.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily, agree. I don't know if I can necessarily go off the complete deep end with Alex Jones, but there's
No, of
enough.
course not. I mean, I only listen to his stuff like in small doses, and then like I listen to it, and then I have to listen to like other like sources and do my own research to like say, oh, okay, he's and kind of understand like when he's being hyperbolic and when he's like like speaking some truth.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the thing, because he'll use like hyperbole and like uh, exaggeration to make a point, but then like I can't get into the trap of focusing on the exaggeration or anything like that. I have to listen to what he's saying and like what the information is in what he says.
Yeah. Well, here's and what's funny is the pairing of him and Paul Joseph Watson, because he's the Paul Joseph Watson's like one of his editors, and it's like it's crazy because they seem so very different.
No, you know what the thing is Paul Joseph Watson is a straight man to Alex Jones is
yeah,
the funny guy.
That's a great way of putting it,
Yeah,
because
that's all it is.
Yeah, because I listen to PJW quite a bit. Like I find what he's saying, he seems to have a pretty good foothold, and like I said, yeah, maybe I do enjoy the straight man a little bit more when it comes to some of that stuff. Cause, yeah, Alex Jones does get a little bit out there sometimes, but yeah, it's yeah, it.
Yeah, I know. Like not. It's like Alex Jones is like pure cocaine. You know. So you can't always have pure cocaine.
He's that guy is running on this crazy amount of like passion and adrenaline in a lot of ways, and yeah, it's just oh boy, yeah, it's yeah, I had to take him in doses too, but I was just all at least on the sexual like the stuff with kids that's going on, like he's had his hand on that from the get-go.
Yeah, he's had his finger on the pulse of that forever. Just calling it out wherever, like Clinton and the Lolita Express and Epstein and his island and
yeah, but yeah, so that's but I hate having to talk about this stuff. I want us to have like more fun, and that's why we kind of throw in our movie reviews and all this other stuff. And if you get tired of if you're tired of the political stuff too, I understand. I reluctantly talk about it because it's it frustrates me too. Yeah, so
I mean,
I feel your pain.
I mean, it's just because we have to, because like it's invaded everything. Because like Star Wars, it's invaded like the all the postmodernist bullshit in the Last Jedi. It's just now more and it's like
dumpster fire.
What?
Dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Did you see?
Exactly. So it's like there's no escaping it. There's no escaping it.
Anyways,
so
but that's yeah. So that's kind of like a little bit of my apology to our fans. I want us to talk about more. Maybe I guess in the long run it's innocuous stuff, but it's fun, and I want to have fun, and I don't because of what's going on in the world. I can't have fun, and that bothers me.
I mean, sometimes you have to turn around and punch the bully in the sensitive area to make them like rethink the chase.
Exactly.
That's I think that's my philosophy when it comes to like doing this or talking about like current events. I don't want to, but sometimes the bully gains gains on you, and you just have to turn around and give him a really hard sock.
Yep.
Well, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave us a little comment. Let us know what you thought about our take on current events, or even on The Incredibles. Don't forget to share this with your friends, and don't forget to catch Rob's show that's dropping Thursday. Up by Up Down, Zelda playthrough. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. Twitter at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. Um, Anything else to add there, Robert?
No, you plugged my show, so I'm satisfied. No, just go ahead and watch the show, leave us a comment, all that good stuff, and go also check out some of the other stuff that we're talking about today. Incredibles 2, good movie. Hunting Hitler, awesome documentary, especially if you love learning about World War II. I think this is kind of a good supplement to to kind of throw in there, and everyone have a great week. Don't kill each other.
Don't kill each other. Yes, and don't forget to check out the library of other videos, the regular podcast, and excerpts from other podcasts and nocturnal transmissions. All right, well, that's it for us tonight. We'll see you next week. Deuces. Well, that was awkward.